Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.
Welcome, everybody. It is time for the Books That Make You show, and I am your host, Desiree Duffy. And today we're talking about books that make you embark on a father and son writing journey. The groundbreaking debut novel from Gamal Williams is titled Finn. Now, this book tells the gripping tale of three young boys who form a very unlikely friendship. And then they soon discover that despite their differences, they have more in common than they realized. And then we're also talking about the book Jump, which Gamal and his son Gabriel wrote together. And here's the really cool thing, and maybe unexpected. Both books are award winners in the BookFest Award. Both are number one, first place winners in the BookFest Awards, which is just outstanding and a bizarre, that doesn't happen very often. So mad props to both of you for that. So Gamal and Gabriel Williams, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Desiree.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Desiree.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hi, you bet. I am so excited to talk to you both. So I got to ask the question, how did this happen? So first you wrote Finn, and then you started writing Jump when Gabriel.
So I was in the middle of rewrites. So anybody who's ever tried to write a book will tell you that first draft is easy. It's when you have to go through the rewrites that the real work begins. And I was in like the second, third rewrite, and I honestly hated it. And it was in the middle of the pandemic. So everything was shut down. And this young gentleman comes to me, he goes, "Daddy, I want a book." And we couldn't just walk into Barnes and Nobles because everything was closed. He's a huge like Harry Potter and Percy and the Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief fan. So we looked online and he didn't see anything that interested him. But one of the things I noticed was there was like no books where a little black boy was the star. And unless it was like some overcoming some stereotypical trivial trauma or situation, didn't make the basketball team or a new kid in class, something to that effect. So I just said, you know what, guy, I'm gonna write you one. So that night I started writing the first chapter, and by the time I was finished, he was asleep. He was knocked out. And I slid the first chapter underneath his door, and he woke up the next morning, and I'm downstairs cooking breakfast, and he didn't wash his face, he didn't brush his teeth, but he came up to me with this page and said, "Daddy, where's the rest?" And I was like, okay, I might be onto something here. So I just started writing it. And then I'd say like chapter 6 or 7 is when you around there. He started coming to me and said, "Daddy, you know what? It would be cool if this happened." And I was like, yeah, that would be cool. And I just started incorporating it into the story. And that was it. And that's kind of how it went.
I love that story. And, I just have to say props because it's so easy as parents to be, I'll go find you a book, or to let the kids, kind of say, oh, well, I don't have time for that right now. I'm busy with this other book. But mad props to you for taking that nugget as inspiration and writing this book. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
And Gabriel, I got to ask you, so what is it about Jump that you have infused into it that you're the most proud
of? Probably the characters. I love making characters, all kinds of characters, and I got to help make the characters in this. And that probably is one of my dreams I could ever think of.
Oh, I love that. So tell me a little bit about your process. How do you make characters?
Well, first I have to find inspiration for said characters. Mm-hmm. I think of a name for them, and then I just start drawing them, making a whole backstory for them and stuff.
He's been doing that since he was like young. I think he was like 7 years old, and he says, "Daddy, I want to make a comic book." So I just gave him a stack of paper, and he went away for about 3-4 hours and came back with a whole comic book. And I was like, whoa. So that is something he has always done.
Oh, I love that. That is amazing. It seems like the creativity runs in the family there, definitely.
Thank you.
So,
This one inspires me, though. I'll tell you, like, he keeps me on my toes with when it comes to the characters and whatnot. I got to make sure they get his approval before I can move on.
I believe it. He's inspiring me right now. I'm like, I never wrote a comic book. What's wrong with me? So when Gabriel gives you the characters, is he giving you almost like a profile then, or is he telling you, or how does that process exactly work?
It's kind of like he'll have an idea for a character or an idea for not even so much a character, but maybe someone who has a specific ability or a power or whatnot. And then I'll take it and I'll think of something, and then we just kind of bounce it off each other. And I like part of it, he fundamentally changed the final version of Jump, because we had written it, we were good, and I was outside and he goes, "Daddy, what if this happened?" And I'm like, you know what? If we did that, we could do this. And he goes, and yeah, and then this could happen. And then we went back and rewrote the whole book. Like, we went back and changed so many different things in the book. And then when we shared it with people, they were like, "Oh, this is so good." We were like, so it's kind of like a back and forth. One of us will come up with a bright idea, and it might be over breakfast. It might be on the way to the grocery store, that it just comes out and we just run with it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's how writing rooms are. TV shows, they have more than one writer. And a lot of times it's that, if this, yes, and then we do that. So the fact that you guys are doing that together, and Gabriel's at such a young age, that is so inspiring. So tell me the genesis of Jump then. Like, what's the story? Give us a lay of the land, if you could.
You want to do this one, or you want me to?
I want to do this one.
By all means, have at it.
So, basically, in Jump, you start off with this boy named Franklin, and he's at a track meet with his sister Brooklyn. And they go through the entire track meet, and they go into this cookout, and they get into a car crash. But Franklin finds out he has the power to go back and save someone that he lost in the car crash. And it just goes from there.
Yeah, and then they discover that they have these powers that they didn't know that they had. And now people are after these powers. They want them. So they're kind of on the run, but not quite figuring out, not understanding why any of it is happening to them. And good job on not giving away the big twist in it. He didn't say it, but yeah, he's gotten pretty adept at it, because kids in the school are always asking him, "So is this what's going on? This was going on?" And we purposely held back some information for the second book. So yeah, it's been kind of fun, but good job, man. I'm proud of you on that.
Definitely. So that's what the jump is. Both of them are able to literally jump, like jump time or jump space. Is that?
Yeah, we'll say that.
Okay.
Not telling anything. We're not telling anything.
Gotcha. In a way, this is sci-fi superhero type genre. Is that
right
safe to say?
Yes. And I will say this, we did do a lot of research between buying books and watching videos on time, space, and biology when it came to chromosomes and DNA and some mutations. Like, we did do a lot of reading to make sure that what we were doing was, even though it's science fiction, there's always some fact that it's based on. Science fiction is based on. So we didn't want it to be so far-fetched. Like, we didn't want to create a magic system or anything like that. We wanted it to be kind of sort of plausible, but at the same time, take it to that next level where it is fiction.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. I mean, you owe that to your readers to have that authenticity and to have, the rules, that you need to have those grounded rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we also, this is me, not so much him, because what I'm about to say, he didn't want to do this in school, but I also looked at it as teachers could pull from it. So when I was writing the book, it's one of the reasons why I'm wearing this sweatshirt. This is his old elementary school, Chittum Elementary. There were a few teachers there that I reached out to. Hey, could you check the grammar on this? Make sure this is good. Is this not too complex for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders? But at the same time, I wanted the science teachers and the STEM teachers, hey, read this. Is there something you could pull from here and use that? So I wanted the book to be able to be used across different disciplines. At the same time, where, kids are having fun, but they're learning things. So I learned what lexical density was. I didn't know what that was, but making sure that not too many words were, see, you didn't even know that. There was a certain amount of grammar words in every chapter that, I remember I went to school, before we would start a chapter, we'd get this sheet with 20 words on it, and we had to know what these words was. And usually by the time you got to the chapter, you was like, oh, that's what that word meant. So it really made me go back to being that age, and at the same time trying to make sure that the book wasn't just something that they, a throwaway book or whatnot. I wanted teachers to I like this. There's something in here I want to, and help encourage the kids to read it. And then the kids just started loving the book, which actually surprised both of us. This was really for us at first, but we let a couple kids in the neighborhood read it, and they loved it. And we kind of looked at each other like, hey, we might be onto something here. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I really want to get into the educational aspect a little bit more too, because I know you did, is it called Jolliffe reading
Yes.
program? Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Well, I'll let him, because it was his idea. So
okay.
So on our last book signing, my principal came up to me, my current principal, and she said she wanted to make my book, our book, the main book for the reading program that she was gonna do. And I came up with the idea to do it during Core Plus.
It's like homeroom, right?
Yeah, like our homeroom, but like it varies between grade levels. And we took that, and now every Monday we read it during Core Plus, and every Monday at 6:30 we hop on and we discuss things we liked in it, things we noticed.
Virtually.
Virtually on the Google Meet. We talk about things we noticed, things we liked on it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's been really cool. They actually even had like little bookmarks that they gave out, and the school bought a whole bunch of copies of the book and gave all the kids the book for free. And there were some kids who already had the book and had read it, so they were like telling everybody. I remember his first day when it came out that he had written a book. He said kids were pointing at him. That's the kid right there that wrote the book. That's him right there that wrote the book. So that's been cool. But like having the teachers adopt it, and so many teachers, and there's other schools. I have friends who are teachers in other schools who have said, hey, I've gotten kids, especially little boys, to read that didn't want to read. They didn't like to read. That have been reading your book and really love it. And I'm like, oh, that part really like touches both of us. Like, that's so cool.
That is so powerful. And I'm glad you're reaching out to other schools. Do you have like a system in place? Is there a governing body like PTAs or librarians, or are you working off of a list? Or are you just looking for the ones that are maybe local in your area?
So right now we've been doing the ones local in our area. The Chesapeake public school system right now, Jump is now the public library system. Jump is actually, both books are in every public library in the city of Chesapeake. There have been different teachers who have picked up the book, and it's kind of hard in the middle of a school year to just have teachers incorporate something into their curriculum, because they plan their curriculum out for months, and I understand that. But one of the things we wanted was the book to kind of be timeless. So 5 years from now, someone could say, hey, we're going to read this book, we're going to, pull from that. So it's been word of mouth. I've had teachers on Instagram and Facebook. I've had teachers in different cities. I know that the PTA and teacher only groups have shared the book. That, hey, you really want to read this? This is a really good book. We know the kid who wrote this. And one of the big pluses is, and I'm so glad that he wanted to help me write it, because teachers not only use it as a way to read, but they use it as a way to inspire. And the bookstores locally, Barnes and Noble, especially the Barnes and Noble in Lynn Haven Mall and Newport News, those two sites have really pushed the book to kids and to parents. They'll say, hey, the little boy wrote this book with his dad, and both the parents now the parent wants to get it, like, really, let me see this. They pushed it out to teachers. They pushed out to different organizations. We've had church organizations want to read the book, and it's just been a plus. So it's been really, really inspiring, and we just hope it just can continue to grow.
Well, I can see this continuing, definitely. You guys are onto something here. Gabriel, I got to ask you, what does it feel like to know that you're inspiring other kids not only to read, but to potentially write?
Good and overwhelming. Because I like that I'm helping out, but sometimes the attention gets overwhelming.
Yeah, you know what? You're not alone there. So many writers that I know, and trust me, because I'm talking to writers all the time during this show. You know, a lot of that creative energy, we tend to focus it into our writing. So sometimes it can be a little overwhelming when you're in the public and you're getting asked a lot of questions. So
Right.
my advice for you there is don't ever take on more than you can chew. It's always okay to say no or maybe later. Okay.
Yeah.
What? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know it's overwhelming for him, and I just recently shared this story with him. We were at when we were at our book signing in Barnes and Noble. The dedication in the book is to all the little boys and girls who never get to see themselves as the hero. And these two little boys, their father came up, and these two little boys, and they came up to him, and they bought the book, and then they disappeared for about 20, 30 minutes. And then they came back, and you could see that they had been reading the book, and they were holding up to him, and they ran up to him and just started asking him all these questions. And he just lit up, and I got emotional. I was crying. His bonus dad, his stepdad, was right there with me, and he put his arm around me. He goes, "That's beautiful, man." I'm like, "Yeah," because in that moment, my son became the hero. Like that was him, and like I'm getting emotional thinking about it now. Like that was like the coolest thing I had ever seen. So it's like, and it's outgoing and as funny as he is, and creative as he is. Sometimes he doesn't really like the attention, but in that moment, he just let go. And these kids were just enthralled by watching him and listening to him, and like, I want to do that one day. And I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. So I know it can be overwhelming, buddy, but you got it, man. You got this. Don't look at me like that.
You guys are so adorable. I love it.
Oh, this is my guy. This is my guy right here.
I can tell. I'm tearing up a little bit. This is just so cool. And yeah, Gabriel, I don't know. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of advice too. I'm really shy, actually, believe it or not, even though I do this show. But something happens, and maybe that's what you experience. It's almost like the microphone cracks on, you step out onto the stage, somebody starts asking you questions. And when you get into that moment, I think that's when it's really easy to shine. So don't be afraid of those moments, because sometimes as soon as you get there, it just all feels natural and you can have fun and really enjoy it.
Right.
All right. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about the art, and I'm not talking about my pseudo attempt here at drawing the cover, but can you talk about the cover of the book and the art and where that came from?
So the artists, this is Jake and Jayla. They go by Avoid Idol. We found them actually online. We went through about 6 or 7 different artists, and we would just send them descriptions of what the characters look like. And where they would come back, we were like, no, that's not it. That's not it. And then finally, one person, they came back with a picture of Franklin and Brooklyn, the 2 lead characters. And me and Gabe looked at it, and we both just looked at each other like, that's it. They nailed it. Like, that's it. So for the cover, again, we didn't really tell them. We just sent them the passage out of the book. This is literally the moment that he jumps for the first time. And it's like maybe about 10 sentences, if that, and we sent it to them. And about 2 weeks later, they came back with what their idea of the cover should look like. And we looked at each other like, yep, that's them. We're hooked. You sold. You're the ones. You get it. You see it. And they were absolute joy to work with. And they're young too. I think they're like 22 and 23.
Wow.
Nah, for me, that's young. I'm just turned 46, so like I could be your dad. So it's kind of cool. But and then the real thing that let us know that it was meant for us to work with them. At first, we didn't know what their names were. They just knew them as what their business name, Avoid Idol. And then when they came back and they said Jake and Jayla, his sister, my oldest daughter, her name is Jayla, and I was like, we're supposed to be with you. Like, there's just something to this. We're supposed to be with you. And no matter what we sent them, they nailed it. Like, you guys get it. And and him being the artist, like, I could love it. And I'll show it to him. What do you think? I don't know about this. And I'm like, okay, yeah. What else? I say, hey, we don't like this. It's like, we think this should change, even though it's all him saying it. But yeah, he has such final approval on a lot of things. He knows it, but he doesn't flaunt it. Like, if he doesn't buy into it, it's not happening. Like, nope, try it again. But yeah, our artists have been like amazing, absolutely amazing.
That is so cool. And you are also inspiring other young artists, right? There's a couple of little girls who took inspiration and did some drawings themselves. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. At his old elementary school, these two little girls, I did a read along for the fourth grade at Chittum Elementary. The same teachers that helped me with the book asked me if I could do that for all the fourth grade classes. I think it was 5 fourth grade classes. And after the read along, 2 little girls came up with this huge poster of the cover, their rendition of the cover. And it was absolutely, like, I saw it and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how old are these little girls? And they were like, oh, they're like 9 and 10 years old. I'm like, no way. And I ended up grabbing two copies of the book. We both signed it, and I took it up to them. And they were the sweetest little, they were just adorable. I just wanted to eat them up. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. They gave me these big hugs. And it's like, even that part was inspiring, that seeing that artists young kids wanted to show off their art. They wanted to show off. And along with the poster, one girl actually drew the poster. Another one wrote a story. And they gave it to us. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. That is so cool.
That is great. You've got fan fiction already, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we got our own little fan fiction going on.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so let's jump over, if you don't mind, and talk about Finn, because Finn is the first book, and you want to give everybody the lay of the land with Finn a little bit?
Yeah, so Finn started from a dream I kept having. This was before the riots of 2020, before everything started. I kept having this recurring dream that I was working in a grocery store. I've never worked in a grocery store a day in my life, so I don't know why I was having this dream. But it was late at night, and I was getting off of work, and someone tries to come in and rob the place. The cops show up, and I get shot by accident. And when I said I was having this dream, I was having it 2, 3, 4 nights a week for like a month. And then finally, like 1 o'clock in the morning, I literally just jumped up, grabbed my laptop, and just started writing. And when I was done, I had about 7, 8 pages, and I shared it with some people, and they were like, this is good. Where's the rest? And then I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the rest of it is. But before I actually released Finn, I had did some writing before, and some of it was autobiographical, some of it was fiction, but it was mainly talking about topics that young teenage boys go through. There's so many times, especially when I grew up, you're seeing it a little bit lax in this aspect now, but when I grew up, showing emotion was a sign of weakness. If a boy cried, he was told to stop acting like a girl. And I'm like, he's not acting like a girl, he's acting like a human. He's hurting, but especially in the Black community, like, men crying or showing vulnerability is taken as a weakness. And I decided to put these characters in situations where people from the outside might prejudge them, but not realize they're going through so much, and there's so much they don't know how to handle, and they don't have an outlet. And that's where these 3 boys come through, the 3 lead characters. One is the son of a Navy Master Chief, one's the son of a police officer, and one's the son of a criminal. And these 3 people you would never think to come together, and they form this friendship that, like, shapes their lives forever. And what I really wanted to learn how to do was to get people to, if I could get people to fall in love with the character, I could take them on whatever journey I needed to, instead of making it about the story, making it about the characters. And that was, and this is where Jump came in. That it was that welcome break while I was writing it, because I was so busy on trying to tell my story, I forgot to entertain. I forgot to keep the reader wanting more. So while I was writing Jump, I was learning, if I can keep he was 12 at the time, if I can keep a 12-year-old interested in my writing, then I know how to do this. And when I was done with the first draft of Jump, I went back to Finn with new eyes. And I'm like, okay, I need to change this. I need to change that. Da, da, da. But yeah, it's that book. And then another thing I dealt with was fatherhood. I give you 3 examples of fathers. One is a loving father, one is an abusive father, one is a neglectful father. And even that neglect is abuse. He doesn't physically abuse him, but there's mental abuse. And it's really because he doesn't see him as a son. He sees him, the gangster, the son of the gangster, he sees him as an asset instead of a son. And the response to that has been probably some of the most emotional thing. I wasn't really prepared for it, because I've had people come to me and say, I want my dad to read this book, like, so he and I can talk, or I need my son to read this. Or a good friend of mine, Mike Romero, he's a teacher, and he said, Stacks, that's the name of the character whose father is a gangster. He goes, that character, he sits in my class every day. He goes, I know this kid. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I see this kid. Would you sign something? Would you sign a copy of this so I can give it to him? And I was like, sure. So I signed it and gave it to him. And the kid read it and he came back and said, why'd you give me this book? And he goes, because that character Stacks reminded me of you. And he said, the kid broke down. Like, it's like moments like that. I'm like, okay, I did something right here. I did something right. And then in turn, what I learned in Finn, to have those heavy moments, while the first version of Jump was all about fun, I needed to give the characters some weight. And I'm like, hey, what would a 14-year-old boy, if this happened, how would they feel? Put it in the book. It's okay to show that vulnerable side to them. So these 2 books like kind of played off of each other, and Finn wouldn't have been what it was without Jump, and Jump wouldn't have been what it became without Finn. So that process for me was exhausting, because there was a lot of rewrites. I think I rewrote Finn about 8 times. We rewrote Jump about 7 times. But it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
That's cool how they played off of each other, and going back and forth gave you that, like you said, new insights, new eyes.
Right.
To be able to do both of them. That is just so powerful. That really is. Mad props to you for that, for touching lives like that. That's amazing. So can we look at the future a little bit? What's on the horizon for Jump? What's on the horizon for Finn?
Okay, well, I'll let you tell Jump.
Well, we are currently working on Jump 2, which is planned to come out sometime December. And that's going to be called Jump Consequences, because the characters need to learn both of them need to learn how to use their powers without hurting the people around them, the innocent civilians who don't have these powers. And Jump 3 is planned to come out sometime around next June, but we don't have a title for that yet.
Nice. And what about Finn?
So Finn, I've had so many people ask me when we're going to release the second part of Finn. So at the very back of the book, I show you Finn's dad, who goes by Big Finn. It's a Navy thing. His last name is Finley, but we shorten everybody's names. I kind of show you that before he was this person, he was a different person, and that will be released December next year. It's pretty much done. I just need to do a little bit more tweaking. I guess one of the best things about being a writer is I kind of control when it comes out. I don't have a deadline, so I don't want to rush it. I actually did like 2-3 drafts of it, and I could have pushed it out, but something said walk away from it. And I just set it down. And when I came back and looked at it with fresh eyes after not touching it for a while, I'm like, no, I need to change this. This needs to grow. This needs to be different. So there's that. And then there's two little offshoots. There are a couple characters. I've left like what they call Easter eggs all through the story, through the book. There's two characters that I created in the book that one plays a prominent role, and one I literally mentioned one time in a sentence. But I think they're fun projects that I want to work on. So on top of writing Jump 2 and Jump 3 with this guy, it's Big Fan and then those two projects. So I'm like always writing. I never thought I'd be a writer. I did 20 years in the Navy. And if you'd have told me when I retired I'd become an author, I'd laugh at you. But so many people found extra things, the talents they didn't know they had during the pandemic. And I discovered I like to write. And I haven't stopped since.
Oh, that's amazing. And you know what? I think the world is better for having you discover that talent, and as well, Gabriel, for you bringing your talent to light.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Okay, guys, tell everyone where they can go to find you online, to find the books, website, social media. Give us your details.
Okay, well, you have an Instagram. He never uses it. He hasn't.
I don't use Instagram.
Yeah, it's author Gabriel Williams. And our books can be found. This is Finn and this is Jump.
Perfect.
You can either go to our website. It's authorgamalwilliams.com. It's at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, Target, Walmart, Waterstones. I mean, you Google
Chesapeake
it.
Public Libraries.
Yeah, library system here if you're in the Chesapeake area. But also you can follow me at Author Gamal Williams on Instagram and on Facebook, and all the information is there. And I really appreciate everyone that's supported us. Hi, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Hi.
Excellent. And might I add, if you're a student or you like going to your local public library, ask them to order it, even if you're not in the Chesapeake area.
Yes,
you can do that from anywhere in the country. Actually, I think just about anywhere in the world. So make sure you're asking for the book. Okay. Gamal and Gabriel Williams, thank you so much for joining us today on the Books That Make You show. It's been an amazing and inspiring conversation. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Desiree.
You bet. You bet. And thank you, everybody, for listening today. You can find out more about us on our website. It's booksthatmakeyou.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and of course on YouTube. Make sure you ring the bell and subscribe so you never miss a show like this amazing show from Books That Make You. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy every single book that makes you exactly who you are.
The host and executive producer of the Books That Make You show is Desiree Duffy. Sound mastering and engineering by Dave Napox. Social media and content promotion by Siddhi Jahagirdar. Copywriting and editing by Mike Robinson. The Books That Make You show is an award-winning podcast produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.